All right. Good evening, everybody. Is my voice audible to you? Just give me a confirmation. Just type yes in the chat box. Let me check. Yes. All right. All right. Fantastic. Chalo. So we'll just because there are certain changes we have done, and uh, we are just setting up. Just take 1 minute. A lot of people are not able to join right now, so our team is just helping them to, right? So let them join in, and we'll start our session. Okay. All right. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this live edition of our Saturday evening session, where we are going to go deeper into a topic which is very important in Lean Six Sigma certification in this entire DMAC framework, which is used in basically two areas, two phases. Okay, and we will go deeper today into that topic. You know that topic very well. But today we are going to go deeper into the topic. We are going to understand some insights about the topic and some practical aspects as well. Okay. So what is the topic? By the way, type in the chat box. You are already received, the name of the topic. Just type in the chat box quickly, and we will start it immediately. Chalo, let's type in the chat box quickly, everybody. And let me share my screen, and we will. All right. Chalo. Can you have the decoding control charts? We are going to understand control charts. So, how many of you are not aware of control chart? Just type me in the chat box. Who are not aware of control chart? Just type me in the chat box. Everybody. जिनको control chart के बारे में पता ही नहीं है. Yes? Anybody in the room? I'm getting my echo right now. उसको म्यूट पे डाल दो. Okay, there are a couple of people who are not aware of the control charts. Absolutely no issues. So we'll start from the scratch. Okay, in the DMAC framework, in this entire DMAIC framework, control chart is used twice. Twice meaning in the two phases, control charts are used. Can somebody tell me where they are used? Type in the chat box. The people who are aware of it, just type in the chat box, quickly. The topic we are discussing is control chart. And the question is, in which phase of DMAC, in this defined measure analysis provide control, which phase of DMAC control charts are used? Type in the chat box. Yes, who knows the answer? Type it. Control phase, yes. That's control chart has to be there in control phase. Very nice. Super, super. Can you just the screen a little? Yeah. Yes. So control chart to hai obviously, but apart from control chart, the first time we use it, that is actually measure phase. All right. So we use control chart in measure and control phase. Write this down. Measure phase and control phase. These are the two phases in which we use control charts. Make a note of this. Now, what is control chart? How do we use it? Everything we are going to discuss today. But in this our Lean Six Sigma DMAC framework, we use control charts in these two areas. Okay, measure phase and control phase. Now, before we go into this measure phase and control phase, Who has invented control charts? Any idea? Just type in the chat box. Anybody has idea about who is the inventor of the control chart? Yes. किसी को पता है? Type in the chat box quickly. Who is the inventor of control charts? Anybody is aware of it? हाँ. Google करके मत बताना मुझे. If you know it, then you let me know. Walter something, yes. Walter something. All right. So it is Walter Sheward, right? It's Walter Sheward. No, Juran. It's not. It was not Juran. It was Walter Sheward. Walter Sheward used to work for Bell Laboratories. Who is Bell? Bell कौन था? Who was Bell? Yes. Yeah, exactly. Graham Bell, right? So Walter Sheward used to work for the Bell Laboratories. And you know what? Control charts were invented. You know what was the year? You know what was the year? The year was, first time it was invented, and we are now discussing in wow, 100 years. See, this is called a time-tested mechanism, which is tested against time. In 100 years, there are 5 industrial revolutions. There's almost 5 industrial revolutions we have seen, but still we are using control charts. Lot of softwares are built, where control charts are inbuilt in them. The data analytics softwares, etc. The control charts are inbuilt in them. The fundamentals are so strong. What are the fundamentals? So the father of control chart, as I mentioned to you, was Walter Sheward. Last 100 years, more than 100 years, we are using this. Okay. So he was basically working for Bell Labs, and he was a scientist, statistician, and very enthusiastic person. And according to him, what he said, any data, any process, understand this, okay? Any process which flows between +3 and -3 standard deviation. Now, every process has a variation. Yes or no? Every process has some kind of variation. Yes or no? Just give me your confirmation. Every process has got that, up and down, correct? Why? Because variation is nature of nature. Variation is, it's a characteristic of universe. You cannot have any process which is stable, right? So you have to have process which is, going up, going down, going up. Just like our cardiogram. When the cardiogram goes flat, the person is dead, right? So it's basically a process which gives us that fluctuation. Now, this fluctuation, this variability is measured by what? What is the unit of measurement of this variability? Type in the chat box, everybody. What is the unit of measurement of this variability? ये जो variation है, इसका unit of measurement क्या है? What do we measure? How do we measure that? How do we measure that? Type in the chat box. Specification limit. No, specification limits are, specification limits are actually the requirement of the customer. Yes, exactly. It is standard deviation, which is denoted by Greek letter sigma. Write this down. The variability is measured by standard deviation. What is standard deviation? The very simple term. It's an average deviation from the mean. For example, if this is the variation, if I collect the data and take the average, let's say this is the X bar average. Average is denoted by X bar, okay? And this variation is measured by standard deviation, which is denoted by sigma. Sigma is standard deviation, which is a measure of variation, variability. Okay. Now, according to Walter Schubert, what he says, any process which flows between, which runs between +3 and -3 standard deviation. What does it mean? +3 and -3 standard deviation is said to be a stable process. It is called stability check. A process which flows through +3 and -3 standard. What does it mean? From the mean, if I take, okay, let's say imagine one thing, that the X bar is equal to, if I've collected the data, and imagine X bar is equal to 10, okay, and standard deviation is equal to, let's say, 2. Okay. Now, from the mean is 10, and let's say standard deviation, on an average, the distance from each and every data point from the mean. What is standard deviation? On an average, the distance of each and every data point. Now, see, this is the data point, this is the data point, this is the data, this is the data, this is the data, okay? All these are data points. And I've just connected all the data points with the line, okay? So on an average, what is the distance? Let's say from this point to this point, from this point to this point, what is the distance on an average? So if I collect all the data points, the distances, and if I take the average, that is called the standard deviation, a simple layman's term. Are you understanding? Yeah. No, it is not 3%. There is nothing to do with percentage. Okay, there is nothing to do with percentage here. Okay. Now understand this. What Walter Schubert says, let's say imagine this. If your X bar is 10, imagine X bar is 10 and standard deviation is 2. Okay. So +3 standard deviation, meaning what is +3 standard deviation? Is equal to, from the mean, 3 standard deviation meaning 3 into 2, which is 6. So from 10, okay, X bar plus 3 standard deviation, and there is something called LCL, which will be X bar minus 3 standard deviation. Now let's calculate this. X bar is 10 plus 3 standard deviation, meaning 3 into 2, which is equal to 6, which is equal to 16. So my upper control limit will be 16. Okay. And my lower control limit will be 10 minus 6 is equal to 4. So that will be 4. How many of you got it? Just type yes in the chat box. So my X is equal to 10, UCL is 16, and LCL is 4. Just type yes in just a second. Just give me a second. Okay. There are certain people who are a little struggling for joining this session. Okay. Just a second. Yeah. You guys, while connecting this today's session, because it was changed to a meeting segment rather than our regular Zenler wala meeting. So anybody struggle with the while connecting this session? Just type. Okay, what was the challenge and how did you overcome that? How did you overcome that? And what was the challenge? It asked the OTP. Okay. And what else? Anything else? Okay, Zoom को reset करना पड़ा. Yeah, because actually this is the first time we are doing this in the Zoom meeting. So next time से ये challenge नहीं आएगा. Okay. Uh, Zoom registration. Okay, asking for re-login, logged in through email, and OTP took time. Okay. So can you just suggest these suggestions which people have? Because this was first time, right? So it might be asking for some password. Yeah, the logging method, because earlier we were using in in our where we store this parentgiven.in, right? So we used to take the session over there. Now we are taking session directly on Zoom. That's the only difference we have done. Okay, first time that is a hiccup. Okay, so there are a lot of people who are yet to join, right? So no worries. So our team is helping them one by one. All right. So we'll continue. Anyways, we'll continue with this. Team, please take care of it. And any yeah, just read these comments. A lot of inputs they have given. Just read. Go ahead with this. Chalo. Let's again. So according to Walter Shibert, coming back to this. Okay. Any process. Okay, which runs through +3 and -3 standard deviation. That means not a single data point going beyond that. All right. Okay. So if the process flows through +3 and -3 standard deviation, that is said to be a stable process. Make a note of this. That is said to be a stable process. A stable process. Understand this. Stable meaning predictable process within that band. So I always give this example of a very disciplined child. Let's say, for example, if there's a disciplined child and the disciplined child or disciplined person has a very fixed routine. Okay, so 6 o'clock he will wake up, 7 o'clock he will complete his morning rituals. He will start for, exercise. 7:30 will start working or studying, whatever it is. Okay, so his times are fixed. It is called a stable person. He's predictable. So if you ask that person that at 7:30 a.m. what would be your schedule, so he will be very clear about it. If the schedule is not stable, it is unstable. Okay, it is unpredictable, right? So stable process meaning a process which follows, which flows between +3 and -3 standard deviation. Now the question is, how do we arrive? How did Walter Shivert arrive at 3 +3 and -3 standard deviation? Why not +2 and -2? Why not +1 and -1? Why not +4 and 5? Okay. The answer to that is, after lot of permutation combination and lot of experimentation, Walter Shivert realized that at +3 and -3 standard deviation, just make a note of this. I will not explain you this phenomenon right now, but at +3 and -3 standard deviation, okay, there is something called alpha error. Make a note of this. Alpha error and beta error. Write this down. Alpha error and beta error got the equilibrium point. They get balanced out at +3 and -3 standard deviation. That's what he observed after his long experimentation for so many years. And then he declared, after his experimentation, and other statisticians, the statisticians and the quality experts community basically endorse that kind of this thing. So at +3 and -3 standard deviation, alpha and beta error gets balanced out. Okay, that's the reason he fixed this level at +3 and -3 standard deviation. So any process which runs through +3 and -3 standard deviation is said to be a stable process. Are you clear with this funda? Just like this in the chat box. Clear, everybody? Just type yes. Super clear. Very good. So now, so before we do, in the measure phase, we do process capability analysis. So before we do the process capability analysis, we follow stability check, we follow normality check, and then we do capability check. Okay. That's why we always call it as SNC. SNC. Everybody remember this SNC, where S for stability, N for normality, and C for capability. Everybody type SNC in the chat box. The seniors already know this sequence. The new people just type SNC in the chat box. In the measure phase, before we do the capability analysis, C for capability. What is capability analysis? Which is my process sigma? What is, for example, is my process at 4 sigma level? Is my process at 5 sigma level? What exactly is my sigma level? That is nothing but capability analysis. But before capability analysis, we have to do stability, we have to do normality. And this is called stability check, which we are doing through control charts. Clear? So in the measure phase, we use stability first to check whether the process is predictable. Then only we do the process capability analysis. Done? Yes, exactly. Sigma of the process, exactly. So C for capability, SNC may, C meaning capability analysis. Okay. S meaning stability, what we are learning today. N meaning normality, that's Anderson-Darling normality test. And C meaning capability. Okay. So before capability, we have to do stability and normality. So in which stability we are checking. Okay. Now, just take a screenshot. If you are taking the notes, it's okay. If you're not taking, just take a screenshot of this quickly. Okay. If you are taking the notes or you are taking the screenshots, please type yes in the chat box. Done in the chat box. Done. Done meaning either screenshot or notes are done so that I can wipe it off. कोई रह गया तो done na? Fantastic. Super. You guys are awesome. Chalo. So now there are various types of control charts. Okay. Out of which we cover 7 types of control charts, in which everybody knows continuous data and discrete data, right? So if you have continuous data, generally we use IMR chart, X bar R chart, and X bar S chart. Write this down. Continuous data. So mean meridian is basically it is the central tendency measures, mean, mode, median. Okay. Yeah. So continuous data is whatever data which can be measured on a continuous scale, which can be basically expressed in decimals, like 2.5 meters, 2.6 meters, 2.52 meters, 2.523 meters. Okay, this is called, on a continuous scale, we can express it. And we can measure the length, width, height, pressure, temperature, all these are continuous data. On the other side, the discrete data, if we have the discrete data, okay, just draw this table, what I'm just drawing right now. Just draw this table. Here you can write. So let me just quickly draw this and then you can write it. Constant sample size and variable sample size. Okay. First, let me quickly draw this. Oops. Yeah. So here it is defect, defect, and defective. And then you've got this Just make this table. Okay. So when we have discrete data, what is discrete data? The data which can be counted and not measured. What is count data? Count data meaning how many people in the room. That's a count data. We don't say measure the number of people. We say count the number of people. So wherever the data is counted, it is called discrete data. Wherever the data is measured, it is called continuous data. And discrete data most of the times cannot be expressed in decimals. All right. It is called discrete. Now, apart from that, so there are 3-4 things which I'll let you. First is discrete. Everybody is clear about discrete. Discrete is, for example, male, female, go, no go. Okay, pass, fail. How many pass? How many fail? How many female? How many male in the room? That is called discrete data. Just type yes in the chat box if you have understood continuous and discrete. Yes? Amazing, amazing. Now just try to understand the difference between defect and defective. The difference between defect and defective. You know, what is defect and what is defective? Okay, let's say I am making, let's say take example of very simple example of shirt. We are shirt manufacturing company. So our final product is a shirt, ready-made shirt, ready-to-wear shirt. Okay. Now, as a quality person, when I check the shirt, I will first find out certain defects in that. For example, defects could be, there could be stain on the shirt. There could be buttons missing. There could be the stitch is improper stitch, buttons missing and stain. Let's say these are the 3 defects which come. Okay. So if I collect the data of this defect, let's say, for example, in one shirt, if I'm counting the number of defects in the shirt, understand this. If I'm counting the number of defects in the shirt, so I will collect the data in this, in this column, defect column. If my data is collected like number of defects, okay, how many number of defects in the shirt I'm finding, if I'm collecting that data, I will use this column. If I'm just collecting the data of number of defective shirts, that means if any of the defect comes, I will reject that shirt. I will call that shirt as defective. And if I'm collecting the data of number of defective shirts, I will use the second column. Clear, everybody? If I'm getting the data of defects, I will use the first column. And if I'm getting the data in the defectives, I will use the second column. Clear, everybody? Just type yes in the chat box. So whatever data you have, that you have to decide. According to that you have to decide which type of control chart you have to use. Clear? Any question in that? Now, every industry can use this. Every industry. Manufacturing industry, service industry, banking industry, BPO, KPO, IT, every industry. Which data do you have? Is it a defect data or a defective data? That will define this. Okay. Now, there is another dimension into that. One is the constant sample size. Look at this. Look at on the left-hand side. The first row is constant sample size. What does it mean? It means, let's say, for example, let's say every day or every shift, your sample size, because let's say as a quality person, let's say I'm checking the shirts. Okay. Now, every shift, I check 50 shirts. No matter what, my number of shirts checked is equal to 50. So my sample size of checking is absolutely constant 50. Clear, everybody? Yes. And there is something called variable sample size, which means, let's say one day my production has increased. So accordingly, I will change my sample size. So if my production is increased, then I will take 100 samples. If my production is medium, then I will take 75 samples. If my production is low, I will take 50 samples, like that. So my sample size is not constant. It's called variable sample size. Clear? So constant is no matter what happens, my sample size remains constant. And variable meaning it keeps on varying according to the production and according to other factors. That will define whether it is constant or whether it is variable. Clear hai this diagram is clear? Just type yes in the chat box. Super clear? Just give me yes in the chat box. Everybody. Yes. So take the screenshot. These are called the 7 different types of control charts. And we are going to do one by one directly, practically with the help of Minitab. Okay. The people who already have Minitab with them, just follow this. The people who don't have Minitab right now with them, all right, you can just observe what we are doing. And once it is done, then you can just practice this later. Okay. So I'm just sharing one file with you. Just download this file, which is there in the chat right now. I'm just quickly sharing it once again. Clear, everybody? And once you opened it, just type open in the chat box. Okay. So what we will do, we will just do it with, practically we'll do it and we'll understand it. Okay. Chalo, once you opened it, let me know in the chat box. Just type done, or just type done in the chat box. Chalo. So now understand this is a continuous data, right? The weight data is there. The chocolate weight data is there. Now, first we will make the first chart, which is eye chart, with the individual chart, which was the first chart invented by Walter Sheward. Okay. So how do we go about it? Go to stat control chart, individual control chart, individual. Just follow this process. Stat control chart, variable chart for individuals and individuals. Just take a screenshot or just write this down, the process. Stat control chart, variable chart for individual. Okay, just click on that. In the variable, just double click on chocolate weight. Just double click on chocolate weight and click on OK. Everybody got this? Just type yes in the chat box. Yeah, Behraji, have you downloaded Minitab on your laptop? Just can you just okay. So can you just open it once again? Can you just try this once again? This is a file. Just download it. Yeah. So the steps are steps are stat, control chart, variable chart for individual. Stat, control chart, variable chart for individual. Just click on that. Chocolate weight, select chocolate weight in the variable. Just double click on chocolate weight and just say okay, you will get this graph. All right. Now, according to Walter Sheward, okay, this is X bar. This is the mean. The line which is in the center is the mean, the average line. This is the individual weight of the chocolate or the product, whatever the product we have. Okay. And then the mean is calculated. And UCL, if you remember, X bar plus 3 times standard deviation, and LCL is X bar minus 3 times standard deviation. It's calculated by software. Okay. And these are the limits. These are called control limits. Control limits are set by the process itself. Write this down. So very important insight. Control limits are set by the process itself. They are not set by the customer. They are set by the process itself. Control limits are set by the process itself. Clear? Okay. Now, just try to understand this. If you observe very closely, now there is something which is very, very important. Do not take huge data in the control charts. Okay. I will highly recommend, do not cross more than 200 data points. If you have more than 200 data points, 200, 300, maybe 200 should be a good number, so that you can actually, comprehend the graph properly. If you have more than 200 data points, then you can maybe slice it off into various graphs, okay, rather than only one graph. Otherwise, it will not be readable. Okay, it will not be readable. Understand this, right? So stick to this 200 mark. Now coming back to this. In this case, we have around 120 data points, okay? Now, if you observe very closely to this graph, what are your observations? Type in the chat box. What are your observations for this graph? Type in the chat box, everybody. Just observe it closely. And what are you observing in this chart? Minimum should be, ideally should be 30 data points, 30. Yes, perfect. So one data point is touching the upper control limit. Yes, that's a good, very clearly evident observation. But what are the other observations? Watch closely. Wow, very nice. Super, super. More variation after 49. Super. Can you just understand this? Now, if you observe closely, there are actually two processes you will observe. How many of you observe this? Before 50th point, the process has lesser variation, and after 50th point, process has more variation. How many of you observe this? So if you observe very closely that's what I always say this, if you observe very closely for 1 minute, the chart starts speaking with you. The chart starts speaking with you, and that is called voice of process. You can hear the voice of process, what the chart is talking to you. But that observation is very, very close, very, very important. Most of the data is between 40 to 44. Very good observation. Here, are you understanding this? Okay. Now this data, understand this. This data is nothing but, if I have to draw a histogram will look like this. How many of you got this? Just type yes in the chat box. The same data can be depicted in the histogram, just like this. So it's the same data. Okay. Yes. Now, along with that, just try to understand this. Ye to clear hai? Now let's go back to our edit dialog box, which is, just press Control E. Control E is edit last dialog. Okay. Or you can just press here. See my cursor on the left hand side top. Okay. Just press here. This will come again. Now here, what we will do, just go to eye chart option. Eye chart option में जाओ एक बार and go to test. Go to test. Just click on test. Everybody, I repeat again. Go to, just click on Control E or just press Edit Last dialog box. Go to eye chart option and go to test. And here you select perform all tests for special causes. Just click on that. All right. Now try to understand is there are 8 different types of test. What is that? 8 different types of test. Now, what are these tests? I will give you a document which will explain you all the tests. So below the recording of the today's session, I will put those document, put a document of 8 tests. Okay. Now, for example, okay, this is saying that, the first test, this one, I'm talking about this one. Okay. The first test says, this one says 1 point more than K standard deviation. Now, K is equal to 3, if you can see here. So 1 point more than 3 standard deviation will be highlighted. So this is the first test. If you observe here closely, 1 point going beyond 3 standard deviation. That's why first test is highlighted. First test has failed. Now these tests are, see, with our naked eyes, we will not be able to observe the patterns and the trends of the data set, especially when the data set is very much higher. Okay, that's why software identifies the hidden trends and the systems. Okay, so what we will do, just click on yes, click on OK, and just apply all this test. Okay, click on OK and click on OK. Wow, everybody got this? Now you have got more dots, red dots in the graph. How many of you got this? Just type yes in the chat box. Everybody got it? You have to click here, go to eye chart, go to test, select perform all tests for the special causes and say OK and say OK. Got it? Very good. Now, understand this. According to Walter Schubert, the variation which is within these control limits are called as common cause variation. Okay. What is common cause variation? For example, when you come to your office, there is always a 5 minutes or 10 minutes delay. You observe, right? 5 to 10 minutes delay or 5 to 10 minutes early. There is always a variation, but it's called common cause variation. Okay. But one day, whenever there's an accident on the road or your car breaks down or there is a puncture, so you come late and let's say you come here. Okay. So that is called special cause variation. So any data which is beyond control limits, it's called special cause variation. Make a note of this. Now, these tests are showing us within common cause variation, is there any significant trend and pattern which over the period of time has a potential to become a special cause variation? Are you understanding this? Okay. So let's try to understand what is the 6 and what is the 5, test number 5 and test number 6. Okay, iska kya matlab hai? Now understand this. This x bar, this red line is from 3 standard deviation away from x bar, right? 3 times standard deviation. This is x bar plus 3 sigma and this is x bar minus 3 sigma. Okay, 3 sigma. So here imaginary, there are few lines imaginary over here. For example, let's say there is a dotted line. There is a dotted line. Okay. So this line is x bar plus 2 sigma. This line is x bar plus 1 sigma. Okay, I'm just drawing some imaginary lines here. Okay, so this line is x bar minus 1 sigma. This second line is x bar minus 2 sigma. And the third red line is x bar minus 3 sigma. Are you clear? So I've just broken this entire graph into 6 parts. Are you understanding this? Just type yes in the chat box. Super clear, everybody? 1, 2, 3. Niche bhi 1, 2, 3. Above and below the x bar, I have just made 3 equal parts of. Okay. So now let's come back to that, come back to our test. All right. Now, what is our test number 6? Try to understand test number 5 and test number 6. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So test number 6 says k out of k plus 1 points more than 1 standard deviation from the center line. That was k is equal to 4. Iska matlab kya hai? Let's in a simple word try to understand this. K meaning 4. Okay. I'm talking about this. 4 out of 4 plus 1 meaning 5 points. So out of 5, 4 points are more than 1 standard deviation from the center line. Uska kya matlab hai? Just try to understand this. Okay. Iska matlab ye hai. Let me just close this. So iska matlab ye hai ki if you observe this, just focus here, guys. Okay. After 1 point, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So out of 6 points, these 4 points are outside of 1 standard deviation. What does it mean? It means the process is shifting. The 4 consecutive points out of 5 are shifting up beyond 1 standard deviation from the mean. Are you understanding this? Just like this in the chat box. So it is indicating that there is a process shift on the higher side. Can you understand this? Just like this in the chat box. Okay, in the naked eye, we cannot comprehend this. We cannot identify this. But software identifies this. And software gives us a signal so that we can investigate it and we can take certain action about it. Are you understanding? So we have to take the root cause analysis, find the causes, find the root causes, and immediately take the action, corrective, preventive action to bring the process again back to the center. And that is the power of control chart. Clear, everybody? This is called the test. Super clear? Test clear hai, everybody? So every control chart, I would highly recommend to just click on the test. Test ko aap click karo and usko activate karo to get the maximum benefit of the control chart. Okay. Now let's come to the second type of control chart, which is X bar R or X bar S. Okay. Now, when do we use X bar R and X bar S control chart? Go back to the data. Go back to the data. Okay. Now here, just go back to the data. Now, you can see here, there are some subgroups taken. What is subgroup? Try to understand this. In some cases, when they check the quality of the product or the service, some cases they take the individual samples. See the graph, the chart which we had made, it is called I chart. I for individual chart. When we are taking one sample at a time, it is called individual chart. But in some cases, we are taking group of samples. Let's say shirt. Instead of one shirt, I will take 10 shirts. 10 shirts ka group leke one by one I will check. Similarly, in this case, they have taken 10 chocolates at a time. You can see here, sample one. So they have taken 10 chocolate samples in the first sample. Again, they have taken 10 chocolate sample in the second sample. Are you understanding? Then they are taking the 10 chocolate sample in the third sample. So they have taken 10, and this is called subgroup. What is that? Subgroup sample. Subgroup. Whenever you are taking a group of sample, it is called subgroup sample. Are you clear with this? Just type yes in the chat box. Everybody clear? Subgroup समझ में आ गया? Individual and subgroup का difference. If you are taking only one sample at a time, it is called individual. Go for eye chart. If you are taking subgroup sample, then you go for, there is something called X bar R chart. X bar is nothing but mean range chart. What is that? Mean range chart. And there is another chart which we can use, which is called X bar S chart, which is called as mean standard deviation chart. So S is nothing but the sample standard deviation and R is nothing but the range. X bar is mean. So instead of one chart, we are actually plotting two charts. One is mean and one is range. Now, one is basically, if you observe very closely, one is checking care of central tendency. Okay, so mean is actually checking the central tendency, and range and standard deviation are basically checking the variability. So in the other word, if this is my standard deviation, this is my data, okay, this is the central tendency, the mean, and the variability is this horizontal spread of the data. It's called variability. So X bar is basically checking what is the center of the data, and the variability is either range or standard deviation checked by the other parameter. Here, now when do we use X bar R? When we have the sample size less than 10, which is n is less than 10, go for X bar R. When n is equal to or greater than 10 is equal to, go for X bar S. Just make a note of this. Just make a note of this. Clear? Are you clear with this? What is X bar R chart? अभी हम लोग बनाएंगे तो आपको ज्यादा समझ में आएगा, ठीक है? When we'll actually make it, that will be more clear. These are very powerful charts, and see, eye chart, X bar R, X bar S, these are the most frequently used charts. So you become master in these charts. Discrete charts are very seldomly used. So I will focus more on the continuous chart. All right. Even if we have to just focus here, that is good enough for me. I don't want to go for discrete chart. I will show you today. But these are the most important. eye chart, X bar R, X bar S. ये तीन चार्ट को आपको मास्टर करना है. Remember this. Clear? Everybody with me till now, just type yes in the chat box if you are. Super. All right. Now, let me just quickly. So what is X bar and what is R? So we are actually plotting two charts instead of one. Okay, what is X bar? X bar is mean. So for the first sample, all the samples will be taken. Okay, and average will be calculated. What is average? Add all the data points divided by number of data points. Okay, so this is, let's say, first sample ka isliye X1 bar. Okay, and what is range? What is range? What is range, by the way? Anyone? Range kya hai? Range of the data is what? What is the range of the data? The max minus the minimum. Exactly. So range meaning the maximum minus the minimum. Okay. So here in this data set, what is the maximum? Let's say 43.1 is the maximum data. And what is the minimum? Let's say 39.6 is the minimum one. So 43.1 minus 39.6 is equal to how much? It is equal to, it is, 3.5. So the range will be 3.5. Are you clear with this? Just type yes in the chat box. Clear hai? This is called the range. So this will be R1. Similarly, for the second group, it will be X2 bar and then R2, then X3 bar and then R3, etc. All these data points will be calculated. Okay. Similarly, For X bar S chart, X bar will remain absolutely common. Instead of range, we will calculate the standard deviation of this 10 data points. Okay. So it will be S1, S2. For the second sample, it will be S2. For the third sample, it will be S3, and so on and so forth. So there will be one X bar chart on the top, and there will be the range or standard deviation chart at the bottom. Okay, इस प्रकार से दो चार्ट हम लोग बनाएंगे. All right. So how do we do that? Let's go to stat, control charts. Now this will be subgroup samples. Okay, because we are taking 10 samples, a group of 10 samples. That's why it's called subgroup samples. So we'll select subgroup, and here on the top we will see X bar R chart. Just select X bar R here. Just X bar R. Select the chocolate weight and select the subgroup size as sample. Everybody just follow this. I repeat again, go to stat, go to control chart, variable chart for subgroup X bar R. Okay, X bar R meaning mean range chart. Okay, select that. In here, just double click on chocolate weight, and in subgroup size, select sample. Okay, and say okay. Everybody got this? So if you put a cursor over here, the first sample says 41.32. Are you understanding? So X bar of the first 10 sample, the weight of the first 10 sample is 41.32. And the range of the first sample we have calculated, right? Can you see here? Range is equal to 3.5. Just put a cursor over here. You'll find it out. Got it, everybody? So X bar is this and range is this. The same goes with the second sample. The X bar is 41 and the range is 4.5. Same goes with the third, and so on and so forth. So they have taken the average of each and every data point. Okay. And then software has calculated the average of all this. That's why it is called X double bar. Why it is called X double bar? Because every data point itself is an average. Yes or no? X2 bar, X3 bar, X4 bar. So all these data points themselves are the averages. And this center point is average of the averages. That's why it is called X double bar. Clear? Yes? Super clear, everybody? And similarly, this is the range chart. This is the range chart. Okay. And this is the R bar, which is the average of all the ranges. So this is actually finding out the central tendency of the data, where the center, and this is actually showing the variability of the data. How much is the variation of the data? Variability of the data, the range. And this is called X bar R chart. Super clear hai? Just type yes in the chat box. Everybody clear with this? Very good. Chalo, now let's go for X bar S chart now. Okay, let's go for X bar. The same thing. Go to stat, control chart, variable chart for subgroup. Below X bar R, there is X bar S chart. Okay. Just go to X bar S chart. The same process does not change. Chocolate weight, sample size is, subgroup size is sample, and say okay. All right. So you will see a similar kind of chart. Only thing is that, see, X bar is absolutely common. Okay. These, instead of range, we have considered a standard deviation. Okay. Both the charts are showing. Now understand this, huh? Yes. Now, both the charts, there is not a single data point which is going beyond control limit. That means it is a stable process. It is a stable process. Are you clear with this? Just type yes in the chat box. If the data is falling between the control limits, it is called a stable process. It's called common cause variation. Everybody with me, just type yes in the chat box. Super clear? Just give me yes. Okay. Now, if the data is going beyond control limits, imagine, let's say the 7-number sample. Okay. Imagine for a second, the 7-number sample, this one, instead of here, it would be something like this. So this is a special cause variation. So what would be our next course of action after this? Type in the chat box. Everybody type in the chat box. If any data point goes beyond control limits, very good. Think about it and type in the chat box. Yes. That is the time where we need to investigate. Investigate that point, investigate the reason, the causes and the root causes of it, and try to quickly eliminate it. Why it is called control chart? Because it controls the variation. It controls the process variation. Understood? Just type yes in the chat box. Super clear? Why it is called control chart? Because it is used to control the variation. Okay, so we immediately take the action. If it goes beyond, immediately take it. Now, understand this. Special cause variation को eliminate करने के लिए, now this is a very deeper insight I'm sharing with you. To eliminate special cause variation, you do not require Six Sigma. You will say, what? What are you saying? To eliminate special cause variation, because it is clearly evident. But to reduce the variability within the common causes, you require Six Sigma principles. How many of you got a bulb on moment right now? Special cause variation को eliminate करने के लिए Six Sigma की जरूरत नहीं है. You don't require Six Sigma to eliminate special cause variation. You require Six Sigma to reduce the variation within common causes, within the control limits. How many of you got a bulb on? How many of you have understood this? Just type yes in the chat box. जिसको understanding हुआ है, just type yes in the chat box. Let's take the example of your office arrival time. Okay, imagine this is your office arrival time. Okay, now this variation is common cause variation, no? Common, correct? Common cause variation, right? Your regular traffic, your regular wake up time, your regular preparation time. It's a common variation. Lift में कितना rush था, lift में कितना queue था. All these things are common cause variation. But when your car gets, car broke down in the middle of the road, it's a special cause variation, no? Now to identify that, you don't need a brainstorming. Why did I come 1 hour late today? You don't need a group brainstorming, no? You don't need a root cause analysis. Of course, you will do it. You know why my car broke. My battery went down, my tire punctured, or whatever. That oil ran out of it. Whatever is the reason, you can easily identify it. But for the common causes, it's the most difficult to identify the reason. Yes or no? The most difficult to reduce is the common causes. And that's where our Lean Six Sigma philosophy, our statistics, Minitab, standard deviation comes into picture. Now, how many of you got this? Just type yes in the chat box. Clear here? I will just focus on the fundamentals, guys. I don't want to rush. Sunil ji, still not understood? Chalo, let me try once again. Yeah, no issues, no issues. See, understand this. This is very, very important for us to understand the fundamentals. Okay. First, have you understood the common causes and the special cause variation ka difference? Anything which goes beyond control limit is a special cause. Anything which goes which runs within the control limits is common cause. Sudhir, yes or no? Just type yes in the chat box. Very good. Okay. So common cause and special cause. What my statement was, special cause identification, special cause elimination के लिए you don't need Six Sigma. But to reduce common cause variation further, you need Six Sigma. So ideally speaking, your process should be, see, understand this. Ideally speaking, let's say your process is like this, within the control limits, okay? To bring the process to this level, you need Six Sigma. If the process is going beyond this, anyway, it's an uncontrolled process, unstable process, okay? Common sense also can solve this problem. But to bring the common cause variation down, even compress it, you require identifying the cause and effect, Y-valences, hypothesis, regression, statistics, Minitab, all these things are required to compress this further. And that is why we are hired. And lesser the variation, lesser the defect, and lesser the profitability. Now, is it clear? Just type yes in the chat box.
So the question is, the upper control limit and lower control limit are within 3 sigma. That is, this upper control limit is x bar plus 3 sigma, and lower control limit is x bar minus 3 sigma. So correct. That is within the 6 sigma range. So how can we still use this 6 sigma for bringing down the variation?
To even further reduce the variation. That's a challenge. So what we'll ask, why this much of variation? For example, from the mean, why this much of variation? We will ask why this much of variation. We will go deeper into that. We'll go to the causes, we'll go to the Y-valences, and the ultimate objective is to bring it to so close to that, okay, so that it will be so narrow and our probability of making defect will reduce.
The thing is that if it is within the 6 sigma, that is 99.9%.
No. So that does not mean, understand this. See, you are right. Plus 3 minus 3 standard deviation, x bar plus 3 and x bar minus 3 standard deviation. Okay. If this process, let's say, if this USL, what 6 sigma, what you are talking about is actually USL and LSL basically. It's a process capability. Now we are not talking about process capability. Okay. This is a stability check we are doing. Now, if any process is running between plus 3 and minus 3 standard deviation, okay, let me draw a histogram over here. Imagine this is a histogram. This is the mean or the target. This is upper and lower specification limit, a specification, just to answer the question. Upper and lower specification. Now, if you are at, let's say 1 sigma, 2 sigma, and 3 sigma, okay. So this process is called as 3 sigma process and not a 6 sigma process. When it will be called a 6 sigma process? When you can fit 6 times standard deviation between one side of the specification and the mean. That means if you can fit 12 standard deviation between specification limiter. Now I'm just digressing the subject actually because to answer your question. So if my process runs between plus 6 and minus 6 standard deviation from the USL and LSL, that is called a 6 sigma process. Samajh mein aaya? Are you getting this? Have you understood the explanation? Yeah. Today, what we are talking about is a stability, and stability and process capability there is no direct relationship. Your process can be stable but not capable. Your process can be capable but not stable. Interesting, eh? Your process can be stable but not capable. Your process can be capable but not stable. Okay. Now, new people don't get confused. Let's focus here today. Even though Sunilji's question was a little advanced question because he has already gone through certain topics. Okay. Let's come to the point. Okay. Come to this control chart. Anything which goes beyond control limit is our special cause variation. Control chart easily identifies it. You just have to apply your common senses to find out causes, root causes, eliminate it. Okay. Again, process will come to the center. Okay. Now that is why it is called control chart, which controls the process. Now, here is the catch. Now let me just put all this graph in. Now just click on this graph. Click on the graph. Let me just show you. Let me just put it in one layout. So go to editor and go to layout. Okay, try to understand this. Just click on the graph, whatever graph we have covered, and go to editor and go to layout tool. Okay. Now here, just select all these graphs on the right hand side. Okay, so whatever 3 graphs we have made, no, I've just selected all these 3 graphs on the right hand side. Can you just do it quickly? This is where if you have created multiple graphs, you can show it to the management in one shot. Okay, everybody with me? I'll just repeat once again. Click on this graph. Graph pe click kariye. Then only it will get activated. Huh? Click on the graph. Then go to editor. Go to layout tool. And now just select. Okay, here this is the button of selection on the right hand side. Okay, select this, and you select this. All the 3 graphs which we have created. Everybody with me till now? Just type yes in the chat box. It is very evident that control chart range is +3 and -3 standard deviation. So range is 6 sigma. Range is the control limits. Range is 6 sigma. Okay. What actually process capability is within specification limit, upper or lower, up to the target, up to the center line. Okay. If you can fit the 6 standard deviation, that is called a 6 sigma process. Okay. Yeah. Prasad ji, the steps are, I'll repeat the steps. Select the chart, whatever you have created. Okay. You have created I chart, you have created X bar R chart, X bar S chart, right? Select the chart, just click on the chart, it will get selected. Go to editor, graph ke baaju mein editor hai, go to layout tool. Go to layout tool. So this window will appear, and then you can just select this, okay? Just select the graphs. Left side mein graph hai, usko select karo, that's it. And then I chart ko select karo. Aa gaya sabko? Yeah? Okay. Now just focus here. This is very, very important. Just focus here. Let's focus on the I chart first. The one which we had drawn earlier, okay? Whenever there is a control limit se bahar any point which is going beyond control limits, immediately take action. Not only upper control limit, even lower control limit also. If any data point goes below lower control limit, also you need to take action. Clear everybody with this? Just type yes in the chat box. Everybody clear with this? In the I chart, if your data goes above control or lower control, both are special cause variation. Okay, few people can consider, okay, only above control limit is a special cause. No, even lower control limit also special cause variation. Okay, you have to immediately take action on that. Investigate, take action, and take the process to the center. Clear? Now coming back to the X bar R and X bar S chart. Okay, ये दोनों chart देखिए. If your data goes above control limit, take action. If it goes below control limit in the X bar chart, mein, if it goes above and below control limit, you have to take action. In both these cases, X bar R ko bhi same applicable hai. X bar mein, if it goes above and if it goes below, you have to take action. Now, this is something very interesting. For the range chart or the standard deviation. Now, this chart is what? This chart is standard deviation chart. Understand this, huh? Understand what I'm explaining right now. If you have understood this, it will be very easy. Okay, I'm just drawing a drawing on the right-hand side. Look at this. If this is my data, this is my average. So this is the X bar plotted. And my standard deviation or range, this is my, let's say, standard deviation. Okay, now understand this. If If my standard deviation is increasing, the data will go up here. Yes or no? If the process's standard deviation increases, that means the variation increases, the data will go on the upside. Yes or no? Everybody, have you understood this? This is the standard deviation. This is sigma, or maybe S. You can say S. S is standard deviation. Clear, everybody? If it goes up, the variation goes up. Okay, it will go up here in this graph. Yeah, in this graph. I'm talking about this graph here. Focus here. So this data will go up, right? Okay. Now, if the standard deviation reduces, the graph will come down. Yes or no? When the standard deviation reduces, the standard deviation will drop from 1.5 to 1, from 1 to 0.5. Yes or no, everybody? Just type yes or no in the chat box. When it goes up, obviously your data will go up above the upper control limit. When it goes down, okay, it can go below lower control limit as well. Yes or no? Understand this? Okay. So here in this standard deviation chart, this chart and the range chart, okay, whenever it goes above control limit, take action. Whenever it goes below control limit, don't take action. Because that is what we want. We want the variation to reduce. We have to maintain it. How many of you got this? Just type, got it in the chat box. How many of you got it? In the X bar R and X bar S chart, in the nutshell, in the X bar R and X bar S chart, okay, just focus here, focus here. In the X bar R and X bar S chart, let me clear all this stuff. Let's focus on these two charts. This is the first one and this is two, okay. So whenever it goes beyond upper and lower control limit for this, इसके ऊपर and इसके ऊपर जाएंगे. X bar R, X bar chart के upper and lower के ऊपर, if data goes, take action. Okay, here also you take action. Just investigate and immediately bring it down. But in the case of standard deviation and the range, which is measuring the variation, okay, if it goes above control limit, take action. If it goes below control limit, don't take action, because when the standard deviation chart goes below control limit, that means that is indicating that your standard deviation is reducing, and which is what we are expecting from the process, which is what we are actually doing. So don't bring it up again. How many of you got it now? Okay, don't bring your lower standard deviation up again. Uska variation बढ़ाना नहीं है हमको. Okay, range B, the same goes with the range. When the range goes above the control limit, take the action. But when the range goes below the control limit, lower control limit के below जा रहा है, okay, let's say here the lower control limit is what? Let's look at this. The range ka below control limit is 1.114. If one data point comes at 1 or maybe 0.8, don't take any action. Let it be like that. That is the most desired case for us. Got it? Rohit ji? Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. So I think this is the basic fundamental we should understand while plotting the control charts everywhere. Okay. Some new insights you have got? Just type yes in the chat box. So we have seen how to plot control charts. What are the various types of control charts? How to take help of the tests, which can give us even, inside information of it, right? When to take action and when not to take action. Clear? Super. Now, what we will do is, so we will open the forum for the question and answer. All right. So to open the forum, you just have to raise the hand. and we will go one by one. You can unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay. Yes. So who wants to go for it? Just go for it. Yeah. Anybody wants to ask anything? Now the question could be about the today's session, or question could be anything about if you're studying something, you're doing any project, okay, or anything of that sort, or anything related to Lean Six Sigma, your career, or whatever. Okay. Yes. Now, how many of you got uh, uh, Mr. Santosh success story? Santosh, right? How many of you saw that? I will share. Yeah, sorry, Tushar, not Santosh. It was Tushar. Santosh is another guy. Okay, I will I will share his story as well. But Tushar's success story. How many of you got Tushar's success story? Have you seen him? So he has shifted his career from a production manager to a business excellence expert now. He has hired in a multinational company, German multinational. Okay, and he is in our master black belt group right now. All right. So these are the success stories, which are a lot of success stories, and we share them in the community as well. So to inspire you as well. Okay, take actions. We are in the right track. Okay, please go ahead and grab this opportunity. Don't. And I would highly recommend go for the interviews. You will understand a lot of things. What is happening in the market? What kind of questions are coming? Okay. So once you give, it's all number games. Okay. More the interviews you will give, more confidence you will get, more equipped you will become to the next level. Okay. Yes. Okay. Prasad ji, go ahead and ask the question.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
Sorry for the slight late. Actually, I joined. I was some busy work.
Yeah.
Anyway, this session was always, as usual, very good. And every time we learn something new, in the insights of these sessions. Yeah, at least these control chat sessions, I might have attended more than I think 4 to 5 times. But still, every time I get
just to take a pause now. Prasad ji is already in the MBB. Okay. Now he has seen this control chart session more than 10 times, I believe.
Right.
Okay. Now understand this. Now when he is observing, now I'm expecting MBB students to observe this, how to handle question and answers, how to answer the questions. Okay, which question can come. So you have to basically be prepared for what are the common questions around the topic when you're covering the topic. What are the common questions which can come? So as a trainer, because master black belts are basically the internal trainers, or if you become a consultant, you have to go to the corporates and give the training as well. So whenever you are covering the topic, expected question का list आपके पास होना चाहिए. Okay, so that you are well equipped, well prepared, so that whenever the question comes, and sometimes the question is asked multiple times because the concept is not clear for some new people, so that has to be accessed. So without adding, see why I am doing this session, so that you guys can what you can say, replicate the trait of the trainer. Okay, you will never find me, अभी तक समझ में नहीं आपको, you'll never find me the frustrated face. Okay,
you never become impatient.
Exactly, people will ask 5 times, fifth time also your enthusiasm level has to be the same when you were explaining it the first time. So that these were the smaller aspects we need to actually pick up. Okay. Yes, Prasad ji, go ahead with your question.
There is no question as such, sir. I have just given the exams in last week.
Yes.
The results are awaited as such.
Fantastic. But I think early next week, those are expected. Okay, let's see. And fingers crossed.
Second was I'm also in search of a new role as such. Once this is complete, then I'm already in search of new roles. So it was also going. So
you're in Silvassa, right? You're in Silvassa.
I'm in Silvassa, yeah.
So Silvassa industry बहुत बढ़ रही है. So you can actually apply for a lot of positions now. See, yes, I would highly recommend with this capability, the Master Black Belt certification, you can create a new role in the organization. Okay, I have seen people creating. Don't apply for the youngster wala, freshers wala. Now you guys are senior. Okay, you guys can absolutely go talk to the CEO, connect with the CEO. This is a simple strategy. Talk to the CEO, tell them, okay, that I am 20 years experience, 15 years experience under my belt. I'm Master Black Belt. I can solve your problems. Okay, I can get you. So if your company does not have this, I will create the culture in the company. I will give the training. I will select the project. That give the confidence, and definitely they will give the opportunity. Okay.
Yes.
That's how I would say that don't go for the jobs, create your own job description.
Exactly.
And a lot of companies do that. Okay. A lot of companies do that.
Exactly. Thank you, sir. Very much.
All the best. All the best. Yeah. Any question further? If you have, just raise your hand. Otherwise, we'll close it today. We will come again on Monday. The recording will be available in the masterclass archive. Okay, for the new people. And yeah, there is a number which all the new people have to just save. Okay. Any question, any query you have, just send a WhatsApp message on this number, and our team will be more than happy to support you, help you, guide you to achieve your goal. Okay. Super, guys. Thank you very much for joining in. This is Dinesh Patel.